Am betu ashte madakiapi unach hitawachipui hemie na meo metna na hashave am betu kile mi chante washte na betuzapi waheki kile Dakota makhoje wahi le Encampment. Hello. Today we are out here on the land of the Dakota Makhoje, Minneapolis, and we're at the Palestine encampment in support and solidarity of those struggling and those fighting for the oppressed and liberation of not only Palestine but oppressed people around the world.
In your experience, what are some things in common with what you've seen happening in Palestine and a history of what has happened here?
I mean, it's literally connected. It's one and the same thing. We're seeing it being played out the same exact way. And I think it's very important for especially Indigenous people. I also wanted to say that I'm Northern Cheyenne and Oglala Lakota. And so I'm of the Ocheti Shagoi. So being here in Minneapolis, it was this land specifically, I think, like the expression of what this place meant. And I think when we really connect the histories, not only the histories of what happened before, but active, living history, things that are happening right now. And when we take those situations and we apply them, they're very parallel. I mean, it's one and the same, that this is about land theft, it's about land seizure, it's about greed, it's about money, it's about the mindsets that came, it's colonized mindsets that whoever is in those positions, it's the way that they view it's the way they view people, it's the way they view land, that it's a physical thing, it's something that they can own. When those are just those are harmful ideas that are not one with us, they're not the connection that we have to ourselves. And I think like the liberation part of it, the actuality of being true to oneself and having that connection to the land is what I see is the power and the resilience in the Palestinian people to know who they are and to have that connection and to always fight and to have that spirit for 76 years going strong and always staying strong and getting stronger. And now it is time for us that when we made that call for them, that they answered it. And now they've been making that call. And so we are out here. And we will not stop until Palestine is free, because their liberation means our liberation. Because it is the same thing. It is the same monster. It's been the same monster. It was the same monster that was kidnapping our children in the 60s. It was the same monster that was coming over here with the promise of land to the colonizers. That you have ownership of this land, God-given ownership. When that's an idea, that's a concept that was created to aid and to continue the oppression and to uplift those in privilege. And wherever that privilege stands, that as long as you're aiding that privilege, that the oppression of those forgotten will continue. And understanding that these are cycles, that this is a continuation. That we can see this played out almost exactly to the T throughout history if you apply it. And so when we look back and we find where all this connects to, where it all stems to, it's the ideas, it's the mindsets that come with it. And I think like highlighting that is so important. And that's why the education aspect is crucial to hearing the stories, hearing the living, breathing stories, the people's truths. That this is not made up stories, that this is not what the media is saying, that these are people's families. And I know, and I was saying this to my community at our powwow, that I cannot celebrate knowing that my people are outside fighting, that my people might be in here, like my nation might be in here celebrating, my people are outside fighting, because my people are outside fighting for liberation, and those who my people are. And to make that connection is to go back to the one thing that we have is our unity in connection to our humanity, is to our spirits, and to it's the same thing.
Thank you. That was very powerful. There was a lot of people in my comments that were really feeling what you were saying.
Yeah.
Do you have any additional thoughts regarding encampments in terms of like we see it right now in this use as a protest, but there's also like Ninokasi or like unhoused relatives. Do you have any thoughts of kind of the parallels or maybe the significance or the symbolism?
Yeah. I mean, this is what community is. And so when there's that disconnection from community, especially in a society where it like creates that disconnect purposefully, we find ways to connect with one another. When we have nowhere to go, we come together. And we know that we are stronger in numbers, whether it's when we have nowhere to go or when we do, and we know that coming together brings us strength. Because that's where our strength comes from, is not what divides us and not what uplifts ourselves, but it's what uplifts us as a community. And so yes, like camping is great, but it's who we are. It's going back to our it's literally the like you can see it physically come together of what love is, and that's love for our people, but also the power of like the power in wanting better for ourselves, and knowing that like this society that we've become so comfortable with, that in our own individual lives, when community is what we have always had, community is what has kept us stagnant throughout. It's what's kept us together. It's what's kept us powerful, is the oneness that we have in our structures, in our societies, and how we function. And we can see that in indigenous communities around the world, that we have ways of being that work. We have ways of being that respect one another, that respect our way of land, that the way we live with the land, the way we live on the land, the way we live with each other. Like, it's all of that is wrong. It's the things that we've become comfortable with in this modern colonial life that is wrong. And so this is right. So when people try to tell you that this is wrong, that this is what history is a people being together, people being as one. And that's what they can't take away from us, because that's what institutions don't represent, that's not what the government represents, that this is what the people represent, is the oneness and the fight for those who are unable to be out here, those who are unable.
Amazing, thank you. I'm gonna just ask, kind of like round it out, one final question. Based on what you've learned of some of the histories here, Columbia University was, there was a large police presence, and I think they kicked out all the journalists. So for a lot of like, especially younger people who are feeling scared right now, what could you offer for advice just based on like history's kind of ugly aspect, and just in a way to kind of feel like, just from your perspective, I suppose?
So I've been going outside since I was like 14, and I remember always having that call and feeling that call within myself of knowing that something wrong is going on, and that I have an obligation to go out there and to just at least witness it, and see that the participation aspect is as far as you can go. But if you have that feeling, if you know that this is wrong, if you know that you have that power within you, that this is your community, that if you're feeling lost and scared and not sure where to plug in, that out on the ground and out here with your people is where you should be, because that is where you'll learn the most. That's where you will feel the most. That's where the connection will happen. And that's where the education, the true education, will happen, is when we go outside of our own little worlds where we're so comfortable, and we go outside of that and we eliminate that second aspect of the social media, whatever, that disconnection that we have, that when you come out here and stand as a community, that like when you answer that call, when you have that spiritual call as a human being, that call, that when you see that there is wrong happening, and that when you feel that there's nothing that you can do, that there is always something that you can do. And that this time is now. If you've ever needed a time, right now. And if there's anyone who keeps you safe, we keep us safe.
We've seen that a lot these last few days.
And that's a guarantee. And that has been played out time and time again. Is that as long as we stay true to the cause and we know what the issue and we know what the root of the issues are, and if our work is to fight against oppression and the true liberation for our people, and we believe that it will happen, it will come true.
It's fire. Do you have any final thoughts? I mean, anything? Like you said it all.
I urge each and every one of you to learn the true history. Learn the true history of not only the land you are on, but the people that the land occupies. The people in which that were displaced due to you being able to be there. Wherever you are in the world, wherever you are, please educate yourself. Educate yourself on the great leaders that you've never heard about before. Please, 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 I acknowledge you. Educate yourself and use that. Spread it. Talk about it. Never stop using your voice. Speak and scream as loud as you can. And please, please, speak against injustice. Speak against what is happening. And please imagine and live a life that you want to see. Be the change that you want to see in the world. And do not be afraid. Because if it wasn't for those who are fighting, I would not be here. And I am a product of failed genocide. The United States has failed genocide. So as a failed product of genocide, and as someone who faces historical trauma due to that genocide, knowing that in years to come, what those Palestinian youth, if they survive, what they will face due to the lack, but knowing and having that connection to who they are, that we can draw strength from that we can draw power, and to that is what will lead us to liberation, is staying true, learning who you are, having that connection, and love one another, please.
Amazing. Thank you.
Wopila. Itakiasin.